From under the bridge to around the town, this is the Prattle Proos. So get your ears close to your speakers and button up those britches for a good time.
Welcome to the Prattle Proos. How about them Cowboys?
Yeah, they basically wiped out all those cattle years ago. Billy the Kid was a cowboy.
I think those are the ones I was talking about.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they, every time they say that. How about them Cowboys?
Yeah.
Do you know why they do that?
You know what game I'm looking forward to? The Texas-Georgia game. Do you know? Here's my prediction. 16-16 overtime.
That's a good prediction. That's pretty specific. Who's going to win then?
Georgia.
Georgia
by 3.
I guess it's going to go.
It's called a field goal, Jason.
It's going to go to the fourth overtime, and they're just going to kick a field goal, and they're not going to score anything on the other end.
Of the Georgia-Texas game, Alabama's going to win.
Well, one thing about Texas is you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink.
Are we still in the Billy the Kid?
No, this is like the team.
So this is a metaphor about the team right now.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's a saying. Like other sayings.
Some
of the sayings that I think of when I think of Georgia are like,
Stone Mountain.
When does the weekend come? The Stone Mountain saying.
No, it's not a saying. It's a place. It's a place. They have a laser show. They have a tram. They have music.
Really? That's cool.
Yeah, we used to take the kids there all the time.
Oh, that's cool. I didn't know Stone Mountain had that.
Yeah, it was great.
I was
free
just
music,
up the road.
Free laser light show.
I was just up the road in Murfreesboro, Tennessee. Never went down there except for to run on the trails.
Oh, Murfreesboro. Sounds like a burrito.
Maybe that's why they named it that, but no, that's...
Here's what I want to know as we go into our show today. I'd like to know what it is exactly that you're predicting will happen today.
I think you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. I think that's what's going to happen.
I think the Georgia Bulldogs are going to win. Boy, this is a great educational channel. I'm sure glad I tuned into Prattle Proos. We learned about... I don't know.
I think we do have an interesting guest today because I think we're going to learn a lot about the writing process. And I think that's going to be very insightful into how they create the imagery and all that kind of stuff.
Didn't you write a book?
No.
Yeah, I didn't either.
No.
I've wanted to. I don't know if I've told you this. I actually have a OneNote, Microsoft OneNote, that I have all of my youth lined out. And I was going to, I started writing about it. Stupid stuff I do. Like, lick a door handle. Have you ever licked a door handle in the middle of the winter, Jason? Have I told you this story?
Yes, Chris made you do it.
Yeah, my brother.
Yeah, he was a lot older than you. That's not how you treat your younger brother.
I think I was 5.
Yeah, no.
Dead winter. It was December.
Yeah, no, that's not. That's awful.
No, I have to tell the story now.
Just like you can lead a Clayton to ice, but you don't tell him to lick.
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and tell my story.
Okay.
My older brother.
Hurry up.
Chris, we're under the time gun. Chris, we're sitting at the church building, waiting. I don't know why we were there, but it was nighttime, and we're sitting on the couches in the foyer area, and it's cold, super cold. And my brother, I was about 5. My brother was 16, so that would make me 6, because he's 10 years older than me.
Mm-hmm.
He gets the bright idea. Hey, Clay, I think that it would be a good idea if you licked the door handle outside. Watch what happens. So what did little Clay do?
What a 6-year-old would do when their older brother tells them to do something.
Yeah, I did cartwheels out the door. Okay, watch this.
Cartwheels out the door.
And my tongue got stuck. If you've seen Dumb and Dumber,
Or A Christmas Story.
was it Larry?
Yeah,
Larry.
Harry.
On Dumb and Dumber. He licked the ski pole on the ski lift. Well, that was basically me.
It's like A Christmas Story too.
Yeah. It completely pulled the taste off my tongue.
Did they have to do the hot water?
I don't remember.
Oh,
I don't
okay.
remember. Do you want to see the door handle? I have it right over here.
I'm sure you don't.
Carried it with me every day. Well, we have. Go ahead.
Well, I know. Go ahead. I could see the worry in your eyes when you're like, "Oh,
What's coming out of your mouth?
What is coming out of your mouth now?
What's coming out of your mouth? Brace yourselves. This either could be funny, or it could be like, what?
It's gonna be what?
So what is it? Say what you're gonna say.
You could lead this podcast to water, but you can't.
Gosh. All right. On that note, welcome to the podcast. Shaela Crosby joins us as an author.
On Prattle Proos.
All right. That didn't happen.
Immediately edits out.
So, Shaela, before we get into your book, so Shayla's joining us with a rich history of artistic book writing skills.
Yes.
Is that the official professional way to say it?
Oh, yeah, sure. Let's go with that.
Authorship.
Yes.
But she's also got a very intriguing story that lines us up very well for the holidays. My eyes went straight to this before you filled out this questionnaire. So each guest fills out a questionnaire.
Yes.
Shayla filled out her questionnaire. And what that does is it helps us as we talk, right? Because Jason can't think up jokes on his own all the time.
He's a
Yes, I
machine.
can. Yes, I can. I've got 3 in my head right now.
You do. About me. Jokes are funny. All right. One of them that stands out, that will forever stand out in my brain, is the elf.
Yeah.
You have to tell us about the elf. What about the elf?
So I feel like it's important to note that, like, I was a kid, right? I was young, like,
So
under
you're like
10.
29.
Yeah. Yeah. No. Thank you. No, when this
23.
happened, I was probably like, yes, that's it. This official age. We've got it here. But no, I was probably like 8 or 9. My parents were just about to move, right? We were moving relatively across the street. And all growing up, I had this little playroom that was in an attic space, right? And it was attached to my room. And we put like stuffed animals and little toys in there. But you could see, if you like went to the wall and looked down, there was like a little crack in the sheetrock. And you could see this like light, which as an adult, I'm realizing there was probably a hole in the roof, right? Like, not very exciting. But as a kid, I was like, somebody's in there. Like, there is a light. And
Did you see like a shadow go across the... Like if there's a tree outside, and the wind blows?
No, I mean, I was a kid. I would just sit there and stare at the light. It's... I know for a terribly long time, it's a really, really narrow spot. And anyway, so as a kid, I had a super active imagination. And I was like, there is an elf that lives in the crawl space. And I pictured like a desk like this, and just with parchment, like a single candle, which was the light, right? And it was just writing stories in the roof. And so, it's just a fun idea. And I tried to see the elf, but I never saw the elf. But I knew he was there because I could see the light. So I was like, he's good. Anyway, but my parents sold the house. And I'm like packing up and we're doing the last walkthrough kind of thing. And I was like, holy crap. This elf, no one knows he's in there. He's going to be stuck in the wall. So anyway.
I know where this is going.
Yeah.
No,
So I liberated the elf with a hammer, which I'm sure my parents appreciated because they were selling their house. Nobody closed on the house. And I'm like, how do you explain that? Like, my kid took a hammer to the wall. I mean, it wasn't massive destruction, but like enough that you would have to fix it. Like, you couldn't just be like, oh yeah, and there's the hole in the wall. So the elf was not freed, and I didn't see the elf, but I was like, okay, so he probably doesn't want to be seen, right? He's never come out and talked to me. Right. So I was like, he's going to wait. We're going to move out, and then, but through this hole, he can escape. And that was,
if he wants to.
Yeah, exactly. And
because sometimes elves like where they are.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe he wanted to be in the roof. I don't know. But I didn't want him to be stuck, right? Because I was like, I knew I couldn't come back to the house after it was sold. Like, that was a non-option.
And so, yeah, we had to free the roof. You know, it didn't occur to me as a kid, like, how did he get in the roof? Like, you don't have those thoughts, like, he needs to eat.
This was before the Elf on the Shelf, too, right?
Yes, prior to the Elf on the Shelf.
So is this a Christmas elf, or is this more like Mordor, Lord of the Rings elf?
Neither. More like, I think, like Dobby the elf from Harry Potter, right? Like, small, bald,
Big ears.
you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, not like a toy granting elf. Otherwise, I would have broken the wall down sooner because, toys. So, yeah.
Wow. All right.
And
All
it's-
right.
I've never asked my parents about that because I'm sure that their memory of this event would be very different. But,
So
Yeah.
do we dare bring that up then?
it's fine.
Dear Shayla,
Do we dare bring it up?
Well,
It's already been brought up.
It's already been talked about.
that will be the next
As we
podcast where we
finish
sit down
this.
with Shayla's parents. And
We should. We should.
Next week.
yeah, the
should.
list of things to confess is long. Let's be
We
real.
do have two chairs here. We could set them up here.
Oh,
All right,
like
next
fight
on the show is Shayla's parents to talk about drywall.
Yes. Well, and it's funny too because I'm like in my mind I had made a large space, but I'm like as an adult I don't have any frame of reference, so the hole could have been small, like a fist size, but as a kid I'm like this is enough
huge.
space. Yeah. So
It's huge.
I don't know.
Was it like a mouse? Was there mouse droppings after you?
I don't know. We moved.
So you never heard scratching behind the wall?
No. Mm-mm.
No, she was just
All
trying
right.
to set it free.
Yeah.
There was light there.
He
So
was a very
who
considerate
were
elf.
who were you reading at the time? Because I know
Oh,
9, 10.
everyone. I don't know. I read a lot from a really young age. Like my parents, when we go on vacations, we'd have I'd have a backpack for my stuff, and then a whole backpack that was just books.
Just for books.
Yeah.
What was your
So-
your genre? Is that what we call them?
Yeah,
Genre,
fantasy,
okay.
science fiction.
So you had to have loved like
Okay.
C.S. Lewis. And,
Yes. Oh, yes. I own them all. I own
So
them.
what drove your creativity to want to write books, and
Probably reading.
especially what we're about to talk about in this book?
Yeah, no, my mom, all growing up, she was a religious reader to her children. Like, she'd read to us before bed and stuff. And so I started reading at a really, really young age. And then I just consumed books like crazy. It was, I remember specifically second grade when I learned that you can return books to the library without reading them. I didn't realize that was...
Oh, so you thought you
No.
had to get through them all before?
Yeah. So if you checked them out, you were committed. You would finish the book. And I remember because it was like this little Valentine's Day book. And I came to the librarian and I was just upset because I did not like this book, right? And I was like, I just don't want to finish it. And she's like, oh, honey, like you can return it and pick out another book. And I was like, no, that doesn't sound right. and I remember, I think that, I mean, it had an impact. I still remember, like, I gave her the book.
But
and
I
was
bought
like,
the pickles. I have to eat them all in the jar.
Exactly, yeah. And I felt guilty about not finishing that book for the rest of my life.
Which book was it?
I don't know. I can't find it, so I can't finish it. It's
Oh
like,
my
I
gosh.
can't find it.
That's hilarious.
it's like some stupid, like the,
Anybody that can relate, raise your hand. I'm going to put mine down because I never...
yeah.
Did you have that problem?
No.
Did you
We're
go
not
to the
being very
library?
nice to you right now. Did you read? Did you make
Yes.
it past the third
Yes,
grade?
my favorite book growing up was The Fat Man and the Potato Pancakes in Space.
That's a book?
That sounds very made
What?
up.
Yeah.
Is it a picture book? Please tell me.
No,
it's a picture book.
these alien fat men would chase around potato pancakes, and they came to the Earth to take it over. But then a potato pancake shows up on some planet somewhere else, and they all left our planet.
So Shayla, have you? So Shayla,
Like, I would have loved to have been in the pitch meeting for that. Like, now listen, I have an idea. Bear with me. It's a pancake.
I will tell you, based on that plot, your
Yeah.
book has a big chance of making it pretty far.
So
I
what you're,
love that book.
so what you're
And if
saying
it
is I
doesn't?
should slip that to the agent first. Be like, read this, then read my book.
Do it. Oh, so my book won't work? Well, flip to the last page. Now tell me if it'll work.
We have options.
It's a choose your own adventure.
Yeah.
Have you ever done a choose your own adventure?
No, I wanted to, but I am constantly in awe of those kinds of books because the amount of plot holes you have to think through in order to give yourself multiple options is insane. So,
I
but
loved those as a kid.
I'm not going to lie.
Loved them.
I've read them and I've enjoyed them a lot, but creating one, oh boy, no. I mean, I feel like you could if you were like a video game writer because you got to have separate endings, but
Yeah.
I've never tried.
Yeah.
Or Scooby-Doo writer.
Yeah, Scooby Doo.
Yeah.
So this
The
is
multiple
what
endings.
this is what we're gonna get out of Jason today.
Perfect. Fantastic. He's speechless.
Yeah. Have you ever had an audience that has? Now this is your 6th book.
Yeah.
Your 6th.
Yeah.
What are the other books? I don't want to focus in on those. I want to focus
Yeah.
on this book. But
Yeah.
are they like this book,
Um,
or are they
They're-
different altogether?
they're different altogether, but there are some elements that I only ever published one, right out of high school. You know, you get so excited. I wrote this in high school and on notepads. And
This
then-
book that we're about to talk about.
No,
No.
the only other book I
Oh,
published.
okay.
Yeah.
And I got so excited when I was finished that like the part of my brain that was, you know, logical is like, oh, you need to edit this book, was like, absolutely not. I just wrote a book. It's ready for like public consumption. You can still buy it on Amazon. I would not recommend it. Okay, the plot was
I'm
yes,
going right
Clayton
now.
looks it up. The plot was great. The character development was atrocious. So it's
Total
kind of
flip flop from this one.
Yeah.
Then, from what it
And-
sounds.
yeah, so it's I intend to someday go back because it is a good story, but it was not ready to be self-published.
Okay.
So which is why with this one I'm trying to go the traditional route because it's always been a checklist item, right? And then I'll have someone else to kind of do checks and balances and be like, no, Shaela.
Yeah.
Pump the
See,
brakes.
we're at that stage right now,
Of what?
where it's like, Dad, don't listen to this.
So they invited me on. They're like,
Let's bring Shaela on. Shaela will turn this around for us.
Yes, exactly.
oh, I thought that this was like a throwaway episode. That's the other reason
I was, this podcast is so bad, I need to get on there and make it better.
No. All right. Well, I'm going to come back to the form that you filled out, right?
Yeah.
Because there's some good stuff that I wouldn't mind talking about. But
Yeah, you wrote basically a novel for that, which was awesome.
I know. I was writing it and I was like, this is excessive. Should I stop?
You did. You even wrote that in there.
it was great. It was great. But I think what I'm really, really excited to ask you about is this book. And I want Jason to start out because Jason, being a musician, he writes his own music. He writes his own song lyrics. He writes his own jokes.
And you can tell.
Wait a minute.
Remember that turkey that you make with your hand and you put it on a plate and then it's like,
Yeah.
Anyway, so that made no sense.
No.
But that's
He looked
Jason.
at this. He's like, it's funny looking. I could be
Yeah.
a comedian.
Thank you for cleaning up my joke.
I got you. No worries.
Okay, Jason, let's kick this off because you have some very pointed questions. Actually, before I do that, give us the title of this book.
So, I mean, if I do get it traditionally published, obviously they have final say.
Okay,
right?
so we don't have a title
But
yet.
I have a working title, and I'm hoping that they keep it, which is The Lost Stones of Algernon, which is kind of a mouthful.
I just got chills because that's like...
I thought it was going to be like when Rourke meets Kayla.
No, I really did. Look,
Really? Yes.
I really did.
No,
No, because... Okay, so...
I didn't
Jason-
think it was going to be called when Rourke meets Kayla.
I didn't even hear what you said.
No,
He
but
had
you
a
were like
completely
agreeing with me.
I don't hear what you say, though.
He has it tuned, so
My-
one ear's just me and the other static. He's like, oh, Jason's laughing. I should probably laugh now.
Yes. Okay, so Jason and I, we read... So Shaela gave us a copy, a sample,
Yeah.
is what we'll call it. And me and Jason took that to heart, and we were very honored to be able to have that sample before you came in. And we sat down with our blankets. We kicked our feet up on the recliner.
I don't use a blanket. He does.
I do. It was my blanket. He had his chair. I had
And we
my
don't
chair.
we don't share the same
I
blanket.
threw
That was my
this.
next
I
question.
threw that- Okay. This
And
went
we have our
south.
shared hot cocoa.
These 4 marshmallows are
Two
yours.
straws. Okay.
So you were sitting on the couch.
I'm not talking to you anymore, Shaela. We're sitting on the couch and we broadcast the book up on the TV. I read a page. Jason read a page. And we tried to get the voices in there too.
Oh, boy.
So, we love the book. This is a very exciting book. I personally, the last series I read that I really, really loved was Hunger Games. The way that the author writes that and talks about the characters and introduces them and describes the different things.
Mm-hmm.
This was very reminiscent of, I wouldn't say that because your style is a little bit different.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But it's just that style of writing. It really captured me. And Jason, I'm going to have you ask your questions because as we were talking last night, you do have some really good questions. So,
Yes. I do. Some really amazing questions.
One time he said, "I love us for words."
okay, so back to me.
No,
He was enjoying the moment. He's like, Clayton has a soothing voice. This is great.
yeah, that's why he's the lead host. So the element of the creative process is what I want to kind of discuss with you. Because for me, as a songwriter, I dream songs. I sometimes hammer them out. And then sometimes I'll take 3 or 4 different like chord progressions and turn them into one song.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of different ways that I do kind of come at it.
Mm-hmm.
Like whichever novel you want to talk about specifically, but
Yeah.
how did you come across with the creative? I love how you're just like laughing away at me.
Yeah, you're good. You're doing great.
You hammer on a freaking guitar? No, but the element of how you kind of come across the inspiration for this, how it kind of leads to, because once I start hammering on guitar, lyrics pop in my head. They're not the lyrics that end up being there, but for some reason, words.
Mm-hmm.
One of them I kept was Top of the Morning, which I never say.
Yeah.
But it stuck in my head, and it's still the intro to that song. But go ahead.
Well, I mean, currently, right now, I live out in the middle of nowhere, right? So a lot of the creative process happens from being incredibly bored on road trips, right? Like it's a 3-hour round trip to go get groceries where I live, which it sucks. I'm not gonna lie, it's not my favorite. But actually, a lot of them is just me seeing something random and being like, I bet I could write a story about that. Like that's really cool. So it's the stupidest little things, and they end up becoming something bigger. Not this book specifically, but another one that's in the works. I came to be because I was staring out my kitchen window, and there's like this little valley, and then out across the opposite way there's additional homes, right? And so I've been looking at these homes forever, for a long time. And one day I was like, oh my gosh, there is a house there in the trees. And I had never seen it before, which is, I look out this window a lot. My desk faces this window. And so anyway, in my mind, I called that the sometimes house, right? Because sometimes it was there and sometimes it wasn't. And I was like, if I was going to write a book about this, like, what would this book be about? So that's, it's little things like that. And then I also have very intense dreams, which anyone in my family could tell you. And so a lot of those become books because they're crazy. So
it's kind of an observation that leads to like an overall concept of what would I do with this, or how could I make this, and then then it kind of leads into like, okay, well, this could be the plot, this could be how this all kind of comes together, and it's just kind of flows that way for you.
Yeah, for me, it's always noticing something, and then I love fantasy, right? That's what I write. Yeah. And so usually it goes from something I notice to the world that I'm creating, and unfortunately, the characters come last, which you could tell by the very first book that I wrote. It's like, oh shoot, people have to live in this world, and no one's gonna read just my random musings about a planet that I've created. So, the characters come last, and I've actually had a lot of help with those because I have. My best friend's also a writer, Christina, and she writes amazing characters. And then I also have an amazing editor, Anna, who's helped me flesh them out and make them feel like people, because that is not my strongest suit. Mm-hmm. So, but that's the way it comes, is the idea, the world, and the people. So
in developing characters, I noticed for me, like I have a picture in my head what the groundlings look like, what their city looks like, the village, the mines. Especially when they're going through the tighter part of the mines, and how the glow and the imagery going through that small tunnel was super cool. Just how you described that. Yeah. And
Are you talking about when Rourke went in there to discover it for the first time?
Yeah, when he's going down with the groundling. Yeah. And they kind of gives him a threat that's not true, but he's going down into the while he's going through, he's amazed by all these things that are going on that are described, and it gave me the imagery of me going through any kind of light tunnel or something like that. So.
Shaela, can you give us a walkthrough of this book? Like, me and Jason could go on and on and on. But can you give us a walkthrough of what we read that would interest to our listeners?
For sure. And I should preface this by saying that I live in fear of the elevator pitch, right? I love to talk about my book. And anytime someone asks me, friends, family, I'm like, oh my gosh. I wrote the book, but what is it about?
Do you want me to ask you questions?
No, it's fine. It's great.
We can talk about Kaylin.
No, it's great. So basically, the story is about this slave girl, right? She comes from this village, and she is trying to look for the source of her people's lost magic, right? She knew that her people had magic in the past, and they didn't, right? And the people that keep them enslaved come from this floating castle, the city in the sky, right? And so they come down and they subjugate everyone on the ground. And so the rebels that are there have this idea that if she can get in with the prince, that he can give her this information, because those people, the prince's people, people from the castle in the sky, they have this power still, right? And so she figures he must know. And so everyone knows that this power comes from ingesting these stones that they call Urutari's blessings. And you eat it and you get a power associated with a color of the stone, right? And it could be anything. It's, pick from a hat, or it could kill you, right? If your body does not agree with your choice. And you can get it inherited as well from your parents. And so her goal is to find these stones so they can pass them out to the rebels. But what she doesn't realize is that the prince is there in the village to also find this magic, because his people had it, but through a very specific chain of events, they lost the access to it. They don't know where it's at. So they have the way to open the cave if they can find it, but they don't know where it is. But it's a secret, right? Because the ruling class is supposed to know where this magic is. That's the source of their power. And for them not to know would just, we're talking civil war. Things would go drastically wrong. So he's trying to get information from her because he finds out that she may know a little bit, and she's trying to get information from him. Neither, not realizing that neither of them has the information.
But you're really bringing out the human aspect of them because Rourke is a sympathetic type character, and Kaylin kind of is as well. And now their introductions are like, do they feel right about using each other? Yeah. So,
question about did you go through the whole thing?
Well, I didn't give you the ending, but that's the general synopsis.
Yeah, no, she.
Okay.
And this is how it ends. Spoiler.
No, I cut her off from my question.
No, but really.
Enough about what you're talking about, Shaela. Let me ask a question.
An asteroid came.
Oh, I hate it when books do that, and they're like, kill your darlings, and they all die, and you're like, what was the point?
So what's interesting is how this started. It immediately captured my attention because of how you pulled in Kaylin. Right? Yeah. So Kaylin, they're making an example of her father, because he had writing, these documents. And Kaylin gets in there and she's like, oh no, this is my dad. They're whipping my dad. Yeah. Because the rulers that you were talking about, they have to keep order so that the grounders do not rebel against them. They've had rebellions in the past. Yeah. But the king, hold on, let me get the king's name. King Roth, yes, which is the prince's dad.
Yes, he is a piece of work.
Yeah, he was not very...
Hey, you're giving away the future. We don't know that yet.
Oh, that is not a secret. everyone would know within the first 10 pages.
We'll talk about Kiara next. She's a Jerry Springer candidate. Anyway.
No, they're not allowed to read and write because that would give them access to knowledge, and they don't want them to be intelligent. They want them to work and give them what they're miners, and so they want the stuff that they mine. They want the stuff from their fields, and so when they find out her father has the writing, the consequence for that is normally death, right? Yeah. And so she realizes she's going to be an orphan.
And he had been whipped 93 times, 83 times.
Yeah, it was the final 12 were once she got up.
That was before. That was when Kaylin got involved.
And I think the Hannah was the one who didn't give the exact number, but he had been whipped multiple times before.
So then here comes the prince, and the prince is the one that said, here, do 12 lashings. I'm a just. I'm almost going to be the king. But I'm just, but we also have to have rules. Next time you're going to die.
But there's right away with him, there's a feeling of like he hates this. Like he does not like harming.
He's got a heart.
And it's the first time in my entire life where I'm actually paying attention to a botanist.
Poor guy. He just wants to be in his greenhouse.
It's
Poor
like,
guy.
botany's never been interesting until now.
Well, the moss grows. It glows in the night, right?
Yeah. Uh huh.
Okay, so the examples. So the idea of the examples is it's terrifying.
Yeah.
It's fascinating. How did you balance creating fear while still making the moments feel personal?
Well, I knew that no situation like this was going to feel realistic unless there was some actual violence, right? You can't have a situation where you have a group of people that are enslaved and be like, actually, it's fine from day to day. Nothing goes wrong. They're all just quietly in line. Like, I mean, we know from history that that doesn't happen, right? But, I mean, we also know from history that people have incredibly personal stories within that. And, you know, it goes beyond them. It goes, they want to help their family. They want to help their friends. It's not just about, oh, I'm going to take off and save myself, right? You want to take those people along with you. And so it's a lot about how would they be experiencing this, and how far can they push the boundaries, and what would their relationships look like within these really tight confines of this society where they have very specific rules, where they do really terrible things. Also trying to find the humanity in the other side, because, you know, we see that a lot in history where they're like, oh, that I was just told to do this, and so I did it. And so you see both. You have characters that they like it, they want to do this, they're going to keep doing this, right? They're going to be like soldiers, not our soldiers or anything, but you know what I mean? Like, they're going to be mercenaries essentially, and do this for the rest of their life. And then there's people that are like, I have to do this for a short period of time. It's my duty. You know, every citizen has to do this, and I'm going to get it over with and try and wash my hands.
It's funny you say that, because Rourke, he has an internal struggle right now, right? Like, he's fighting the duty of what he needs to do as a prince. He still has to maintain order, but he has a heart. He has a kind heart. Do you think he represents the possibility of redemption?
Oh, yeah.
Or, like you were just mentioning, is he trapped in his circumstances? And he just doesn't know how to get out?
I think a little bit of both, because I think that when you do some truly horrific things, even though you know they're wrong, there has to be an element of redemption, right? Like, you can't just be like, oh, shoot, that was a terrible thing that I did, and move on with your life, right? But I forgot your other or, but
he's trapped by his circumstances. Yeah.
Well,
or the redemption.
Yeah, and I mean, his father's a really terrible person, and he doesn't really care about his children in the way a father does, right? They're means to an end. He's a very politically motivated person, and so he doesn't have another option. His father is like, you do this or you're dead. I have other children. Yeah. You know. Yeah.
It's
good.
Yeah, there you can feel in Rourke a little bit of a, maybe this will make my dad proud.
Yeah.
Kind
he
of
wants that
feeling
desperately.
that. Yeah.
I didn't catch that. It doesn't mean that
he wants his approval, you know.
He wants his approval still.
I think he wants his eye to go away from him. He wants to be left alone, for his dad to be like, you're doing what you're supposed to do. I'm happy with what you're doing.
Yeah.
I'm going to let you do the things you really want to do.
Yeah. So what was interesting, too, as we were reading through that, so there's the miners, right? That big cavern that they dug out, right? They had to dig out first, and then they could start mining. Rourke's fascination with the botany, as Jason would call it, the plants, I didn't expect that, right? Like, that's an unexpected trait of a prince. Like, he grabs the grounder, and like Jason was saying, you're going to do what I say. Right. And so we went into the caves to find the stuff. Tell us about that. Like, why was that detail important for this character?
Rourke really wants to be a healer, right? He likes the idea of being able to help people, but that is not the power that he has, right? So the power that he has is actually a lot more terrible. It's all about controlling people. He can take a little bit of their blood, actually, and be able to completely control them, control their thoughts, control what they remember, control what they do physically, even for extended periods of time if he has enough of their blood. And he's kept this a secret from his father because he knows how his father's going to use it. But anyway, so he has this desperate desire to help people, and so he's doing that manually with herbs and with plants, and he likes the peacefulness that it brings. And it's a way to round out his character. It's a way for me to get him up close and personal with our main character, because he does help her after the initial episode of whipping. And I think it humanizes him because, I mean, it's almost the exact opposite of what you would expect, right?
Yeah.
You know, who has time when you're ruling a country to go in a greenhouse and pop
Right.
There were some humorous elements in there too, just for me, like him getting caught in a tree, and the one time he needs, how do you pronounce
Onane, yeah.
Onane.
Yeah.
His bodyguard.
Onane's just like off somewhere else. He's like,
He's out playing the Xbox.
and then this little
somewhere.
voice, do you need help?
Yeah.
And it's Caitlin.
Yeah.
So there are some elements of humor in there too that
Yeah.
I noticed.
There's a lot of distrust though from Kaylin in that moment.
Yeah, and
Right.
you would imagine. She doesn't want to get close to him, right? This is kind of the directive that she's received. She's like, this is a terrible idea. But, I mean, she wants to free her people. She wants this as badly as they do. So she's like, I need to take a chance. We all need to take chances. So,
So her dad was part of the rebellion,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
Like what I read into his character when we were talking about Kaylin in there, and she was getting bandaged up by Hannah. What was his name, Jason? What was his name? The guy that said you need to represent your dad.
oh, Aram?
Thomas?
Are we talking Aram, the young blacksmith?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. The
Oh,
blacksmith.
Aram. Okay, I was thinking
Yeah.
the one who gave the directive for the leader of the meeting.
Oh, Trey.
Trey.
No.
Yeah, that's it.
No, the blacksmith guy. He's
No,
a funny guy, man.
He
He is.
He's a funny guy.
a big, lovable himbo. I love him. He was going to be
Did
a
you say-
minor character, and then I was like, oh, I love
Did you
you.
say?
Yeah.
Did you say hippo?
No, it's
He's a lovable hippo.
He's a lovable, big. That's what I heard. Big lovable hippo.
no, they call it himbos, I believe is the word, or chads. So it's like a kind of like, you think you're like football, kind of your big lovable goofball, right? Like really good looking, but is also kind of, I mean, he's
Well, he's
smart, but
flirtatious. Yeah.
So
but
he's a blacksmith, but he
Mm-hmm.
also confused Rourke and the other two soldiers, right? What were they called? Soldiers? No, they
The
weren't.
keepers?
The keepers.
Yeah.
Thank
Yeah.
you. He confused them too because they're like, why is a blacksmith down here?
Yeah.
And so I didn't picture him as a hippo. I pictured him as like this big
He's a
rock,
young man. Yeah.
like a rock character.
No, you
Like
didn't.
Dwayne Johnson.
It's what she sounded like. She said,
Shit.
"Yeah,
Yeah.
he's a big, fun-loving hippo."
Because my
I want to
face
cuddle
wasn't
him like
there.
a panda bear.
Oh, just what
No,
all the ladies want.
and you over there, you remind me of a manatee.
Oh, you're the walrus.
You said you had a picture in your mind of what the characters look like. Was that accurate?
No, actually, I had a big old muscular, like blonde-haired, good-looking guy in my head.
I
for-
have him
yeah.
pictured
That's
as like some tattoos,
Yeah.
right?
He would definitely be the kind to have them, yes.
Like nice ones.
Yes.
Not like
I took the time.
Barney Fife from Barney Fife. Where did that come from?
Barney Fife.
Why would you pick out Barney Fife for a tattoo?
I don't know.
That's the weirdest thing I've ever heard you say, Jason. Anyway,
Usually, I'm the
so
one who
these
does the weird
papers-
references.
They start
me.
whistling
It's like
that
Bunny.
theme song.
There's something like Benny Hill comes out of my mouth. Barney Fife comes out of you.
I had a frozen burrito today,
my
so
God.
who knows what was in it.
Yeah, you should have warmed that up.
Okay, so anyway, the papers, obviously they can read and write. Obviously.
Yeah. Well, Kaylin can.
Kaylin,
And
but-
her dad.
yeah,
Fen
those two
can.
can.
Fen can
Ben
and
can
Kaylin.
and Kaylin can.
but-
But, nobody else.
Nobody else can.
On the
But
ground.
Kaylin totally lied at the exorcism.
The
Exorcist.
The exorcism.
The exorcism.
Okay,
The
that's the other
example.
book. The example.
The exorcism.
Oh gosh,
That's
yeah, my
the
family
other
would never
book we were
read it.
talking about. Yeah, no. Mine wouldn't either.
So what was your inspiration for the Lords?
No, wait, I'm still talking about the papers.
Was
Hold
it
on.
the Atari 2600?
All right.
There's actually, it's terrible. We can get into that
There
later.
is? Okay, I want to hear about that. No, the papers. So the papers have a significant
Yeah.
interest in the plot of this, even though Rourke read them and he's like, these are lies. And,
Yeah.
and he didn't crumple them up.
Yeah.
What is the significance of those letters? Is there anything later in the book that gets reference to that?
Yeah, so her dad, Fen, was taught to read by her mom, who showed up one day, and she said she's from a neighboring village, and she knew how to read, right? And so the floating castle, they subjugate multiple villages. So she had come. They don't trade often, but sometimes it happens. Anyway, but yeah, the papers, obviously he thinks that they're lies, or because the way that they've been taught, the history up there is very different. They believe the people on the ground are actually inferior human beings. They believe that Uratari has blessed them more than others. They believe that they are entitled to the magic, right? And so when he sees that they all have the powers, he's like, yeah, I don't think so, right? But also he doesn't want to dismiss the possibility that there's something there, right? That perhaps even though they're lies, that they might point to the direction. So, but yeah, they keep coming back.
Well, he notices that with Hannah too. Rourke does.
Yeah.
That's when he started. For me, that's when he started questioning. Like, well, she did pretty well for her
Yeah.
not being trained in that. So
Yeah.
Okay.
He starts to see him more as people as he starts
yeah.
interacting
Was
with
I?
them.
Because even questions like, was I taught right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So, which I thought was a cool realization for him to think through all that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
And,
agree.
I mean, we see that a lot in history too. The winning side can just rewrite things however they want, right?
That's why we got so much Roman history.
Yeah.
They're like, you will read about us.
I will say the keepers, I wanted to just reach through the book and just rip their teeth out
Yeah.
when they started attacking that girl.
Yeah.
She went out to find her lost pet,
Yeah. And
and let's go
it's gonna be fun.
do something that
Yeah.
we shouldn't.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the
Yeah.
lasting effect on, emotional effect on the person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Which I thought was a very nice way of something that could have been a lot worse. But,
Yeah.
Yeah.
but I think that the undertones were,
Yeah.
I'm
I mean, it is
speaking
for
very
youth.
like
it's for youth. Yeah.
Yeah.
like I'm
Mhm.
trying not to
You're
give
trying
it
to-
away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I don't know if you want to.
No, I mean you're fine either way. I don't think that. I mean, the 50 pages. There's not too many spoilers.
No.
We did that on purpose.
Okay,
Yeah.
good.
No.
Good.
But
Good.
yeah, no. So for the people there, the women have long hair. It's a sign of their purity, right? So if it gets chopped off, then they're considered unpure. So even if nothing happened to them, they can't really prove it, right? So women get married, they cut their hair, and that's how you know that they're married. But yeah, so for her, it's like even though something worse didn't happen, she has no way to prove that it didn't. And but for the keepers, this is a really fun activity, right? Like nobody actually gets hurt because in their mind they don't care, if they fail.
Yeah.
And so they're like, this is really good. It gets a reaction. It's something fun to do at night. We're gonna go see if anyone's out and about, and it just I think that in some corner of their mind they realize that it's a big deal, but they don't really care. It doesn't affect them, right? And so they're like, it's just hair. It's gonna grow back. You'll be all right.
So these keepers were getting their, would we call it a hobby or a sport?
Their
Yeah.
kicks.
They're
Out
kids,
of getting this girl
Yeah.
completely destroyed emotionally,
Yeah.
cutting her hair because they think it's funny.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Until Rourke bores them to death by
Yeah.
going his way of getting out of the situation by going very slow and saying, "You've got some left."
Yeah. Well, and I
So-
mean, he doesn't want to be there, right? But
No.
you
Yeah.
also you have a certain amount of like you want to be in your group with the people that your
Well-
comrades. You want to be a part of that, but also
Yeah, and you really did include in there like, I need to go with this because this could turn really bad.
yeah,
Like and not a
safety.
death this time.
yeah, mhm.
So he kind of feels like he has to go to just for that element of what I got.
yeah.
from that.
And I mean, he only has so much weight because he's a young man. He's their same age, so it's not like he can go in and be like, "You cannot do this," because they're gonna be like, "Okay, yeah, sure." Like they have to listen to a degree, but also they're peers. They grew up together. They went to battle school together. They know each other very
Yeah.
intimately. So I mean, there's only
He
so
probably
much
doesn't
authority
want to
he has.
mess up his king throne either, right?
Well, yeah, and I mean, and he doesn't want to create enemies from the people he's supposed to be around. He wants to win them over, and hopefully change the way that things are someday. But now is not that time. He's young.
Yeah, you kind of have all three characters in that one moment because you got the one who just kind of follows. He didn't seem like he really wanted to be there either, but he's got to impress his friend. The one who has the evil intention
Yeah, Lucas.
and enjoys it,
Yeah.
Lucas, and then
Kerr.
the one,
Kerr, yeah.
yeah. So,
Yeah.
so that I thought that was kind of cool. All three elements and how you kind of explained how they all kind of felt,
Thanks.
and a little bit of background
Yeah.
on the Kerr and Lucas's
Well, for me,
history.
for me in that part of the book, for me to get my emotions to the point where I just want to rip their teeth out,
Yeah.
that's
That makes me
amazing.
happy.
Yeah, you did
That's what you
great
want,
writing.
right?
Yeah, that was amazing.
Yeah.
I think the way you write the whole story captures the emotion and captures the interest. And what's another big word I can use?
Well, thanks. I think that's what you worry about, though, as an author, right? Because you can tell the most interesting story in the world but no one's going to enjoy it if they don't get emotionally invested, if they don't
Right.
care about the characters. And I think it can be difficult to do that artificially, right? Like to create whole different people that are nothing like yourself. You know,
Right.
maybe have
Yeah.
elements of you, but yeah, so that makes me happy.
Oh, that's cool. So that is part of the creative process as well, is making sure that it's some kind of emotions that you know that you can have lived
Yeah.
through and kind of felt yourself as well.
I think that's where when you publish the book,
Yeah.
it could be 3,000 pages, and it'll be one that you don't want to put down.
Yeah.
Honestly.
And that's what you want.
And I
right?
think your viewers,
I don't
those
know,
that are listening to
3,000 pages. I'm not going to read it all at once.
this, there
I'm
is
going to
if
put it
there's
down.
Break it. That's why there's a second book and a third book. Yeah.
pictures at the start of each chapter for Jason.
Not drawn by me, heavens. But
Okay, so there was an arranged marriage in here, right?
yeah.
So can I make a guess?
Yes.
We know it was Kara.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
We know it was her and Rourke.
Yes.
Their marriage was arranged.
Mm-hmm.
She is a capital bad word. She's
Yeah.
not nice.
No, she is not.
She is the complete opposite of Rourke.
Mhm.
Like he wants to just. I see Rourke as a people pleaser,
Very much so.
and he
yeah.
wants to wrap his arms around everybody.
Yeah.
She, on the other hand, she's looking for ways to torture. She's looking for ways to just like destroy people.
Yeah. She wants to be sneaky about it.
Rourke's got the daddy issues.
So
He
is
does.
this?
So, yeah.
Yeah, is this something that they all do in this culture? Do they get appointed their husband and wife, or is this something
No.
just them?
So part of the reason they're looking for this magic is because they lost the source of it, their magical abilities have declined over time, right? So what they used to, if you had a healer who once might be able to completely heal someone that was near to death, you now have someone that can kind of patch you together and make it so you won't die, but you're definitely not better, And so his marriage was arranged. His father's very insistent on having strong abilities, strong powers within the royal family, right? And so she, ironically, is a healer, right? That is her ability, but she does not ever use it because she does not like people.
Right.
And she's certainly not going to use it for the people on the ground, but she'll use it for work occasionally. You see her helping out work. So she wants to maintain her image with him, but in reality, what she wants to be queen. And however she can make that happen.
So she's manipulating Rourke in this relationship
Yeah.
because she knows she's going to be queen.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And she, in her mind, she sees Rourke, kind of a people pleaser. He's kind of soft. And she's like, when we are married and we're together, I will rule because he won't care. And so she's just trying to play nice until she can get into that position.
Yeah, that came out in the way she said, specifically, like, oh, well, and just let me handle that in the future.
Yeah. Well, and you do find out she has a really terrible reason for why she is the way she is. She didn't grow up like that, and she had some very terrible things happen to her. That made her like that.
How did you approach writing their dynamic?
The
like-
two of them together.
Yeah.
Because we're getting we've only gotten a small piece of it so
Right.
far.
Right.
So if it's something you want to say for later, we understand. That.
No, I knew what their ultimate motivations would be, and so I tried to. Rourke doesn't want to be in an arranged marriage, but he's nice, so he's trying to be nice. He's trying to be friendly. They're kind of friends, and so I was like, how would I treat someone that I really wasn't interested in, but I wanted to make play nice with, and then with her, she doesn't actually love him, but she wants him to believe that she does. So I was like, how would I act in that situation, and how would the two of those things kind of mesh together?
Yeah.
Which is usually really polite four-star. She tries to make jokes. They don't go over well because she's not funny. Because she's just,
Horribly not funny.
No, she's just. But she tried because she wants to be, the cute girl, the girl that he's going to really be interested in, and she.
He's not though.
No.
Like right away, you can tell that.
Yeah, he wants to be desperately because he knows it's going to happen whether he wants it to or not. So he would like.
One blink for yes, two blinks for no.
He would.
Does
two blinks.
Kaylin end up marrying Rourke?
Can't tell you that.
No.
Yeah.
Secret spoilers.
So Kaylin, I can see this as a budding relationship, but there's the problem of he's married to that big bad lady.
He's not married yet, but yeah.
But it's an
he's the
arranged,
trope. Yeah.
right? Like that's going to be such a big pickle if that happens,
Well, yeah.
because now she's a grounder.
Yeah.
He's
There's no way that's going to happen. They're not allowed to go up. They cannot have relationships. Like, some of them will have relationships like you do if you're sometimes in the military. You're stationed in a town, right? You pick up a temporary girlfriend. Sometimes you marry him. Sometimes, you leave and you move on. So very much that kind of situation, but especially as crown prince, there's no way his father would not sanction that. He knows that that's not going to be anything, even if he wants it to be something.
It's probably going to be the cuttable, huttable hippo. Right? The blacksmith?
Yeah. He really wants it to be him. He does.
He's
trying his best.
He is so funny. Can I help you with your bandages? No. If you see me, you will be dead.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
I just want to help you. Poor kid.
I will find a way. I'm clever. I love it. I want to go back to that saying, a big pickle.
Where was the big pickle?
Yeah, you said that there's a big pickle coming up.
Oh, just because their relationship, there's no way it's going to work.
No, I want to talk about the saying itself.
Oh, I know.
Where did the big pickle saying originate from?
I don't know what you're talking about. Did I say that?
Yes.
I did?
No, I don't know.
Is that because pickles used to be too big to come out of the jar?
Maybe.
Okay, so let's talk about the moss.
Different direction, but we should not explore that here because it's not safe for children.
Let's talk about the moss. This moss, there's the purple, the gold, the blue flowers, right? That they mine out of those caves.
So they don't mine the flowers, but they're in the caves.
Mm-hmm.
And so.
Okay.
Yeah.
What are they mining in the caves?
So.
I think I missed that part.
Yeah, so they're mining rock and.
Okay.
Groundbreaking stuff.
I see what you did there.
But so in the original version of the draft, actually there was no magic in the entire story, and that was a later addition that my editor really helped me with because it's been something I'd been playing with in my mind. I'd actually written the magic system, and I was like, I hate magic. Magic is so hard there's too many loopholes. And so in the original version of the story, it followed kind of earth mechanics, but there was essentially a bunch of, what is the word I'm looking for? Magnetic ore. And that's how the castle stayed up in the sky, right? So they'd replenish it, and then the castle would follow a path based off of magnetic ore in the ground. So it would follow and rotate around on a schedule.
So you went out with the original purpose of like actual like things that the earth does have.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But that was a thought process to get away from the magic. So
Yeah, like
not
slightly
like the other
fantastical.
earth, wind, fire
Yeah.
stuff that like you'll see in the so many different movies, Fifth Element and Last Airbender.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff. So you didn't look at that as a
No.
earth, wind, fire, and wind.
I was actually actively trying to stay away from
Those are the elements of the earth that they talk about. In fact, Greek history is based off of
I see where you're going.
Yeah.
as the elements
Okay.
of.
No, I was trying to stay away
Yeah.
from purely elemental magic because it's great, but also I feel like it's been done, so I wanted a magic that was a little more versatile. So, you see the 4 different types, and they're traditional, but within those, there's a lot of wiggle room. You don't get the same thing, You could eat a yellow stone, and you could end up with, 7 different powers between 7 individuals.
Okay, so that's where the colors come into play with the flowers.
Yeah.
Or the stones. You're mining
Yeah.
the stones because they're different colors.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But then there's the moss.
So they don't mine the stone. They're just miners. So in this version of the story, there's other bigger cities, and the floating city takes all that stuff, sells it, and that's their commerce, right? So,
okay.
but
Okay.
yeah, so but they do know that these stones, so they're Urutari's almost like Mother Earth, right? And so she cries these tears, which are the stones, and then they go into basins. They each have a different color, right? And you can get powers by drinking the water, or you can get an intense form of them by eating the stone itself, but it could kill you. But anyway, but he knows that the stones glow, and he knows that the plants glow, and so he's thinking, there might be a connection if I follow these plants. Maybe this is going to lead me to where the glowing stones are. So, yeah. Sorry, that was a long-winded explanation.
No, that's good.
I thought it was
Miners.
great.
And
The moss, I'm very intrigued with that because I see that that's going to be something that's future in the book that has big significance. Am I right?
yeah, I mean, the glowing, anything that glows, basically,
Okay.
is connected.
Okay.
So,
I thought of the cities as hold on, don't tell me. Surros.
yes.
Surros. I think of that like with Avatar-ish.
Like the
where
mountain is on, yeah, exactly
the
like
floating
that.
mountains.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Like the vines coming down.
Yes.
That's how I pictured it.
Yeah, it's exactly like that.
Yeah. And then Algonamon, which is where the
Algernon?
grounders live.
Yeah.
The black and white buildings. buildings with how they had to build them. They had bigger technology, but
Yeah.
they wouldn't let them use it because they thought, oh, they're going to come in and overtake us, right? And
Yeah.
rebel.
And they have ruins there where they can see they used to have buildings like that, but they don't know how to build them anymore. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so fascinating.
Who built the smithy?
So fascinating.
who built the smithy? They did. But that's tightly controlled. It's the only building in the village that can't burn. It's made out of stone, and it's made a lot like the barracks where the keepers are. And so, because I mean, you can't be around that much fire and have a flammable building. Like it's not going to go well.
The smithy, that's the blacksmith shop,
Yeah.
right? That's where the hunk of hippo
Yes,
works.
that is where he works.
Man, he's got some big arms.
He was supposed to be a minor character, and the more I wrote him, the more I loved him. And now in the second book, he's also a major part of that book. So
Okay,
I love me.
Your characters, I love all your characters.
Well, the interactions too, and the build-up, and the way you describe them, there's a way to where I can visualize them, but also at the same time, your use of the word clear when you're talking about his voice was a very concise way to show that he spoke with confidence. He spoke loud enough to where everyone could hear and spoke above the crowd.
Yeah.
Just by using that word clear.
You're talking about Rourke.
Yeah, Rourke.
Rourke.
When at the
example.
the example.
The example, yeah. That was
Yeah.
when he grabbed her by the the chin
Which
when she was almost drowning because they were dumping water on her.
yeah, because he causes confusion because he starts questioning her first, and then he's like, "Oh yeah, I got to turn around to deal with
There's
these
people here.
things."
Oh shoot, you know.
Yeah, which
This
is
not a private moment.
But I mean, when you're writing, though, are you looking for those words that can capture all that?
I tried
sometimes.
to. So I was trying to describe them as minimally as possible because I want it to be consistent, but I also want my readers' imaginations to do a lot of the heavy lifting because nothing is more jarring than when you are thinking of a character one way and then the author's like, she looked into his bright green eyes and you're like, wait a minute, what? No, So I was trying to be as concise with that, and also because I would like to approach a traditional publisher, and you have to be careful with your word count. So like there can't be anything extra in the story. Everything has to have a purpose. There are certain words that you don't want to use excessively. And so I've got,
that makes sense.
You comb through the script and you're like, how can I possibly shorten the sentence to give it the best punch without, you just don't want the extra words. You don't have time for extra words.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
like the small puffs of dust under their boots.
Okay, well, humor me.
I like
It's a
that
dusty
part.
busy. Oh, I thought you were going to be like, that's too much description.
No,
Like, it's a
I thought it
dusty
was
village.
great because it makes you understand. Because
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, good. I thought you were like, too much, Shayla.
no. Who's your character?
Who's my character?
Yeah. Who do you say? Okay, I wrote this book. That's me.
Caitlin.
Who do you see yourself?
Got to be Caitlin.
Yeah, surprisingly more Rourke, I'm not going to lie.
Oh,
Are you?
Cool.
Yeah.
Very
Yeah.
cool.
There are certainly elements of both that I have. I actually had a much harder time writing Caitlin. She was my original main character, and then the dual point of view. I don't know. Rourke was, not to you don't want to dive into issues growing up, but I feel like, a lot of the things that Rourke thinks, a lot of the internal struggle he has. I'm not obviously ruling a nation, but a lot of the family related struggles and a lot of the other inner musings I feel like I can relate with really closely. So
That's fascinating.
I had an easier time with him. Caitlin was the one I worked with Anna a lot, and I was like, does she feel flat? Do you like her?
Yeah. Yeah.
So that was a struggle, actually.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
Rourke is my favorite by far. Yeah. I identify completely with Rourke.
I don't know. I like the hungry hippo. His personality is just funny. I can relate to
I
him.
enjoy him so much.
Yeah.
Poor Caitlin. We're like, all our favorite are these boys.
Kaylin, thanks for the exercise you did back there, but
Well,
we like this person.
it's that, for me in college, philosophy, now I'm into theology, constantly studying different things, and the way that his mind works is a lot of my internal mind working, so that's why I really identified with Rourke.
So for our listeners, Shaela,
Yeah.
I've thoroughly enjoyed talking about this with you.
Yes, me too.
What do you want the listeners to hear? What do you want them to know about your book?
She wants to hear more about me.
Absolutely. I would like to use the remaining time to hear his life story.
I'm kidding. Sorry,
It's
I
like
didn't mean to
heaven
Okay.
help us all. ends the podcast right here.
Heaven help us all. Just let him go. And you guys walk out. And I'm just babbling away.
I thought he was going to like tactfully turn off your mic. He'd be like, yeah, go ahead.
I can. I'm the techie. I can turn him
You
off.
see the
right
video and it's him just talking into the mic and then you and I continuing.
And you two
Casually.
just casually walk out.
Blissfully unaware.
So I go from talking to you two to like talking to the screen.
Yeah,
We're having a grown-up conversation here. Okay.
But no, I don't know. I really hope that people pick it up. I hope that they like it. I hope that they read it. I mean, and I'm hoping that if they do read it, that they're picking up on some of the thing. I tried to make it as close as possible to things that happen in our real world that we see in these types of situations, right? Like, it is a fantasy world and the magic is cool, and it's going to be even cooler once everyone, has access to certain things. But the magic only gets cooler. But
Can't wait.
But I'm hoping that they can pick up on some of those smaller things. It's like, oh yeah, we've seen this in history, or, I can kind of guess at the way that this is going to go, because even though this is a fantasy book, I mean, it's kind of like the Hunger Games, right? Typically rebellions don't go well for the rebellers. You want to believe that they are, but you always know that it's not going to be a walk in the park. It's going to be tough, and you're going to have to claw and scratch and make something happen if you want to, so.
And there's always that character, though.
Yeah.
That leads.
Yeah. And so I'm hoping that they really enjoy the characters and enjoy the story, and also pick up on some of the smaller, the themes, the morals, the things that we've worked in.
Yeah.
So
I think you've done incredible.
thank you.
When can they expect more? Like, more as far as you have it going to editors.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
When can they expect to purchase? And
Yeah. So it's completely done right now. And if I was self-publishing, it would be like within a couple weeks. So I have beta readers that are going through it right now, just checking for plot holes and telling me, do we like the characters? Are we picking up on all the nuance that I had hoped people would pick up on? And then once I get the, hopefully, fingers crossed, clean bill of health from them, then you start sending it out to agents. So you write a letter, and you include a sample or your entire manuscript, and you hope that they like it. So that would be the next step. So when I hear back from them, it kind of depends. If I get an agent, that's great, and then it would be going and be out in a traditional publisher like Penguin or Random House. But if it doesn't get picked up, and I would try and obviously find out why. But I mean, I would self-publish at that point, because I've worked on it hard. I feel like it's a good story. So yeah, we have a couple months of limbo while I'm trying to see if I can get some traction, get it picked up, and then if not, and I mean, you'll know, because we know each other. So
well, I hope that we get a signed copy of the finished book.
Of course.
Would you entertain the thought of having maybe two guys in their red shirts, maybe possibly do the audible reading and narrating?
Well, it depends. How many extra jokes do we get with?
We would just change our voice to be the character.
I would have to hear your Kaylin voice, and then we'll talk.
My voice would not be good for that. I'm not a book.
I had someone read it, and they took it, and it might have been my sister, and she read it out loud in the most, it was just the most ridiculous voice, and I wanted, my skin was crawling. I'm like, please, no, make it stop. You think your book's good until someone reads it, and then
But no,
James Earl Jones is who we need.
Oh, if only.
But seriously, when we read it, he's used to me nonstop jokes.
Yeah.
I didn't joke, but hardly ever when we were reading it. I was too much into the story. That's true.
Yeah, that's very true.
I mean, I wouldn't be opposed. We'll do a sample. We'll see how it works out.
Yeah. So, what else do you want our listeners to hear? What do you want them to know?
About you guys? Or absolutely.
No.
I think
about your book.
Our listeners want to hear about the pickle thing.
Yeah, no, I don't think so.
Wow, you got shut down by Shaela.
Well, I mean, I am going to have an email that I've set up to be able to be notified when this comes out, and I'm going to provide that to Clayton and Jason, and so hopefully they'll be able to tack it onto the post if you want to subscribe, and I will let you know what's happening, and if I do end up releasing it myself, or if it gets picked up, so you're kind of in the loop. If you're a talented reader and are like, I'd really love to beta read, I'm still looking for a couple. because the bigger the pool you have, the better.
Yes.
But yeah, those two things, and then I'm going to be going ahead and creating obviously some social media pages that I hope
Great.
people follow and that are not
Yes.
obnoxious. So
Yes.
if you
Yes.
sign up for my email, I promise not to spam you. It will
Yes.
actually. I hate it
So
when
get us
happens.
that email.
Yeah.
We'll
Mhm.
publish this.
Okay.
Get us that email.
Yeah.
And then viewers, if you guys want to be notified,
Yeah.
email that email address, and we'll have that posted up here shortly.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Okay. Jason?
Prattle Proos!
Oh my gosh. I'm so sorry, Sheila.
It's all right. I expected nothing less.
She's listened to our prior podcast.
I have listened to the podcast.
Well, we're at an hour. Next time we have you on the show, I would love to talk more about just you. I think you're a very fascinating person.
Thanks.
I am super interested in the next book.
Yeah.
So just the concept of how the Sometimes House and how it kind of came to be.
Yeah.
Because I actually don't have I write my songs and then I have a meaning after.
Yeah.
Once I've got everything kind of hammered out. So
Yeah.
so that's kind of cool how you do your creative
No,
aspect.
that
So.
never happened. I never get to title before we did.
I actually wouldn't mind adding
Not you though.
yeah, no, I don't play.
I don't know. You held it like you knew.
It's because I have a cousin here that plays.
I was waiting to be dazzled. It's part two.
Thanks for joining us on Prattle Proos.
Thanks for
Thank you
having
very
me.
much.
We appreciate it.
Thanks for prattling with us on the Prattle Proos. This podcast is a production of Clayton Bowen and Jason Smith. Copyright 2024, present Prattle Proos. All rights reserved. Any reproduction or distribution of this show without express permission is prohibited. Unless, of course, you're sharing it with your grandma, then we'll allow it. Got something to prattle about? Hit us up via email at prattleproos@gmail.com. And don't forget to follow and review wherever you get your podcasts. Until next time, keep it weird, keep it prosy, and remember, you're never too old for a good laugh. Ha ha!